An Iranian lawmaker has publicly revealed what he describes as Mojtaba's top-level secrets during a televised appearance, laying out sensitive claims that challenge the inner workings of Tehran's power structure and immediately igniting a storm of controversy across political and media circles. Several core demands put forward by Iran, officials and analysts say, appear to have been left out of the agreement with the United States, raising questions about whether Tehran's most strategic priorities were sidelined during negotiations and what diplomatic or domestic fallout might follow. Reports now suggest Mojtaba found himself publicly embarrassed by members of his own inner circle while talks were underway in Switzerland, a diplomatic humiliation that could weaken his standing at home and complicate the already delicate negotiation process. Amid US-Iran peace talks, a hardliner's remarks sparked widespread backlash inside Iran, according to reports dated June 22, with commentators and political figures debating whether the outburst will alter the fragile diplomatic momentum between Tehran and Washington. During a televised segment, the lawmaker publicly read purported excerpts from top-secret letters attributed to Iran's supreme leader, presenting the materials as authoritative and prompting immediate scrutiny and controversy among both supporters and critics. Nabavian said on air that Mojtaba had opposed talks with the United States before being abruptly cut off, a claim reported by Iran International that highlights fractures within Tehran's negotiating team and raises questions about who controls the country's foreign policy decisions. Nabavian serves as a member of Parliament's National Security and Foreign Policy Committee, a position that lends weight to his statements and suggests his allegations could influence both parliamentary debate and public perception. Nabavian further asserted that Mojtaba and Supreme Leader Khamenei had imposed conditions which were not reflected in the Memorandum of Understanding with the United States, an allegation that, if verified, would suggest critical elements of Iran's demands were sidelined during the negotiations. The Iranian lawmaker said, and I quote, "The Supreme Leader explicitly expresses his dissatisfaction. He says, 'Why did you not observe the conditions?' What has taken shape in the Pakistan negotiations is fundamentally different from what was supposed to happen and from what constituted the condition for the legitimacy of the negotiations. The Strait of Hormuz is a very important key. If the Americans want pressure taken off their throat, they must first implement preconditions, foremost among them the payment of compensation and debts." Unquote. The lawmaker also revealed that Mojtaba wanted the talks to concentrate squarely on ending the conflict and securing compensation for victims and affected communities, arguing that humanitarian and reparative measures should take precedence over other diplomatic issues and thus shape the negotiating agenda. Mojtaba reportedly instructed negotiators not to raise or negotiate over Tehran's nuclear program, a directive suggesting he sought to keep nuclear matters off the table entirely while the delegation pursued political and compensation-related objectives. Iran's state broadcaster condemned Nabavian's televised remarks as a legal violation warranting judicial action, arguing that his disclosure crossed established legal lines and calling for the judiciary to intervene to investigate and potentially prosecute those responsible for the alleged breach. State television warned that any references to classified documents or official correspondence were punishable under Iranian law, stressing that public disclosure of such materials could carry criminal penalties and urging institutions to pursue accountability for what it described as an unlawful revelation. Hossein Soleimani, Mashregh editor-in-chief, said, and I quote, "Why don't you say these selective excerpts of yours were from about 20-something correspondences, and in fact from the earliest ones? Since you disclosed and published the system's secret and top-secret documents, you should at least have disclosed them correctly and accurately." Unquote. Nabavian and several other prominent figures have issued sharp criticisms of the Iran-US Memorandum of Understanding, arguing that the accord fails to reflect key national interests and warning that it could undermine Iran's bargaining position while fueling domestic political opposition. The Switzerland peace talks generated unexpected optics, with several unscripted moments quickly stealing the spotlight. Away from the negotiations, a series of awkward exchanges became one of the most talked-about aspects of the talks. Did both J.D. Vance and Shehbaz Sharif find themselves at the center of uncomfortable diplomatic moments caught on camera? An awkward interaction involving J.D. Vance and Qatar's Prime Minister has sparked intense speculation over whether diplomatic snub occurred. Was Vance left hanging during a greeting, or is the viral moment being interpreted far beyond what actually happened? A brief exchange caught on camera is now fueling debate over what really happened between the two leaders. Vance wasn't the only leader drawing attention, as Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif also appeared caught off guard during the proceedings. Did the Iranian delegation's sudden departure leave Sharif visibly surprised during the high-profile gathering? Reports suggest the Iranian delegation opted out of a planned joint photo opportunity, adding to the unusual optics. Sharif appeared surprised as the Iranian team exited earlier than expected, creating another widely discussed moment. From handshake controversies to surprise exits, the Swiss talks captured global attention well beyond the negotiating table. As Donald Trump and Masoud Pezeshkian traded threats in public, the Swiss talks quickly descended into confusion, with negotiators struggling to keep the process on track. On June 21st, Pezeshkian bluntly insisted that Iran would never abandon uranium enrichment, restating one of Tehran's central red lines in front of the world. The president claimed Washington had effectively reversed course and accepted Iran's nuclear rights, portraying the memorandum as a victory for Tehran's position. After Pezeshkian's speech, Trump fired back by threatening the Iranian president to watch his mouth, escalating the rhetoric just as the Swiss round was beginning. Trump then went further, saying Pezeshkian better shape up, or we will take over the rest of the country, a line that rattled diplomats and enraged officials in Tehran. Separately, the US president demanded that Iran rein in Hezbollah or face new strikes, tying the fate of the talks directly to the battlefield in Lebanon. That warning reportedly sent shockwaves through the first round of Swiss negotiations, with some participants questioning whether the process could survive such public threats. Iran's parliament speaker Bagher Ghalibaf responded by warning that Washington must be careful with its words, framing Trump's comments as both provocative and counterproductive. Iran's top negotiator reiterated that the country's armed forces remain ready to respond if needed, linking military posture to the tone and direction of the US president's threats. Talks in Switzerland between Iran and the US stopped after just 80 minutes, but both sides described the break as a pause, not a full collapse of the channel. Tehran's nuclear program did not feature in those 80 minutes, with negotiators instead parking the most sensitive issue while they tried to stabilize the ceasefire framework. According to Iranian state TV, the meeting focused on Lebanon and on how to implement clauses of the Memorandum of Understanding, rather than rewriting the nuclear file. An Iranian source told local media that discussions were halted for internal consultations, not scrapped outright, suggesting Tehran still sees value in keeping the door open. IRGC-linked Tasnim News claimed Iran's team left the venue in protest over Trump's remarks, fueling a narrative that the president's threats directly triggered a walkout. IRNA reported that the Iranian team departed after meeting Qatar's mediators, further fueling speculation that their exit was meant as a pointed diplomatic signal. A diplomat quoted by Axios, however, insisted that the Iranians haven't left and that talks were technically still ongoing, highlighting the fog of conflicting briefings. Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghai said discussions on a final agreement would not start yet, signaling that Tehran is not ready to move into the endgame phase. Baghai stressed that any final stage talks depend on first implementing key clauses of the memorandum, making concrete steps on the ground a precondition for deeper compromises.